What's up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and I am here this afternoon with the live review of Married at First Sight, Season 16, The Reunion, Part 1, you guys. We have finally made it to the reunion. So, if you guys are watching this video or any other on my channel, and you guys aren't subscribed yet, then do me a solid favor and stop taking me out on this date and having me pay for it at the end of it, you guys. You guys know the routine. You can do that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, turning your post notifications on, and sharing the video, you guys. And with that out of the way, without further ado, let us go ahead and just get into the reunion, part one of Married at First Sight, shall we? All right, you guys. So the reunion, hosted by Kevin Frazier. So I will say, for me, with the reunion, it was part one was okay. Let me know what you guys thought about it. Part one for me was okay, but what was I gonna say? The looks. I think everybody looks nice with the exception of Dom. I don't know what that dress is that Dom has on. Shaq and Kirsten, they're almost dressed alike, but not completely. I think Shaq has on gold, and I think Kirsten has on a yellow dress. Then you got Nicole and Chris next to them. And then you got Eris and Jasmine. I will say Jasmine looked beautiful at this part and in reunion. And then, like I said, Dom and Mac and Gina and Clinch, guys. So, um, we know how Decision Day ended, and also, so I know I haven't talked about Married at First Sight in a couple of weeks. That was because I just refused to sit there and do them pointless episodes. So, yeah, I don't know I don't know truly what all happened in those last few episodes, but don't care. If you guys want to let me know in the comments section or the live chat, feel free to let me know. But at this point, just honestly, I don't really care. But the reunion. So they talked about what the process has been like for them. Going to doing this show. They talk about how people come up to them and tell them about them. They give their ideas, right? I'm like, well, do y'all watch the reviewers? Because we have a lot of opinions in YouTube world, right? But people stop them. They tell them about the relationships. Nicole's talking about how she realized how nosy she is. So it's kind of interesting having people come up to her and talk about her relationship, right? So then next up we talked to Dom, right? So, Dom was talking about how it's been for her, how people were in her DMs, they didn't necessarily like her, and how I guess there are guys out there that are willing to pay Dom for cleavage pics. And I was like, okay, I mean, there's a market for everything, right? So Jasmine says that people think that she should be with Gil from Houston. I was like, Gil, wasn't he talking to Dom? Didn't him and Dom have a conversation? Because I remember seeing that. I saw that preview of the episode where she was saying she just talked to Gil. So Dom says that she and Gil are just basically friends with each other and nothing else there but friendship. Cool. So Clint, we find out that Clint has moved out of the out of the building that he and Gina lived in, and he's moved into the building that Nicole and Chris currently live in, right? So I was like, okay, so y'all still keeping it in the family. So we also found out, so we knew that Mac had moved back home. So Mac has gotten his own house, so he's not living in anybody's basement. And we talked about the fact that Dom has a dog, and they played a clip. Now, mind you, I didn't see this clip that she got a dog, and that Dom, not Dom, but Mac told how he felt about her having a dog. Because you guys remember that was the biggest issue for them when they were talking about moving. I honestly, God, don't care, right? Because when it comes to Dominique and McKinley, we they got a divorce soon, so I just didn't care. I truly, truly did not care. Didn't care at all. So the next thing that we talked about was Clint's comments about Gina's weight. I have a few things to say about that situation when it comes to Gina's weight, and well, the fact that Clint said he likes a woman of a certain size or whatever. He never once attacked Gina, but he got the flack from it. He got, he got all the flack from what he said, right, about a slim, like in slender women, right? And I feel like people completely forgot the fact that Gina herself said to him she doesn't like gingers and the redheads. So I'm just like, are we just completely gonna overlook what Gina said to him and just make Clint out to be the villain and the bad guy in this situation? Like, that's the thing that was just kind of blowing me, was the fact that I just feel like we're just continuously looking over the stuff that's happened between Gina and Clint. And like I said, Gina saying that she doesn't like people with gingery features. And for him, when he told her how that made him feel, she still said it, talking about that's what people in her salon say. Okay, ma'am, but that's not the point. He's telling you he's offended and you continue to offend him. So make it make sense, right? So the next thing is we talk about Eris and that Hayden as cousin Felina. I'm so glad they didn't invite her to the reunion, because that is somebody that I just would have preferred to not see on my television screen, Felina. So they showed the package of Felina, whatever the hell her name is, right? And the things that she said about Jasmine and her answers being pageants and all that kind of stuff. So I love the fact that all the ladies, they felt like Eris should have had Jasmine's back. And even I said that you might not know her, but you're the one that signed up for this process. You are the person who said, "Okay, I want to get married," and to a perfect stranger, 14 day, 14 days, right? So when she kept saying what she was saying, especially to Jasmine, you should have then stepped in and said, "Hey, Val, so I know how you feel, but I'm the one that made this decision to sit, to get married to this woman. Can you at least have a little bit of respect for her, right?" I get him saying that that's his cousin, and Jasmine was someone that he just had only known for a short time, right? But again, it just goes to say you need to kind of draw a line and create a boundary with your cousin, right? So they showed an unseen clip of them, and for Hits from the Streets, aka Eris, to even say to Jasmine, call her, say anything about her being weak or not being able to hold her own, I call bullshit with that. Like 100%. I call bullshit on that. For you to sit there and say that, like you're not the one, you like that, like you're not even checking your cousin. Like, that needs to be done, sir. I'm gonna leave. I was about to say something not so nice about Felina, but I'm gonna let it go. But let's go ahead and pause at that point, and we're gonna go ahead and keep it pushing, you guys. So next up is Jasmine and Eris. So this is their solo scene with Kevin, and Kevin asked what happened with them. What happened with them is that Eris was never attracted to Jasmine. Mind you, he kept bringing, he would bring up sex to her a lot. He was not attracted to her in that sense, right? So Eris says that they had some private conversations, and so since they had private conversations off camera, he just wants to keep it that way. He wants to keep it that way and keep it right there at the private conversations. And I was like, I mean, if that makes sense to you, sir, then that makes sense to you, but it doesn't make sense to us, because if you guys had a conversation that we're not privy to, and it sheds light onto the situation with your relationship and why you felt the way you felt, then that might change some of the viewers' perceptions of you. Because I know social media is not the biggest fan of Eris, and I, for one, am not the biggest fan of Eris, right? So Jasmine said that this process and the fact of what happened was her, basically, her worst fear. Her worst fear was the fact that this man that she's saying that she's going to marry, that she doesn't know, would not be attracted to her, right? So her worst fear came to fruition. She also said that they talked about when she got friend zoned, and I don't think I know, like when Jasmine got friend zoned by Eris, I think that's when the switch went off for her. And I'll even say it's the same thing that happened with Clint, but we're talking about Jasmine here. So we find, she talks about the fact. So I don't watch the after show, so I don't know everything that happens on the after show, but they talked about the fact that Eris has slept with one of her friends 10 days prior to them getting married. I was like, wow. But we already knew that he had had sex with someone prior to, getting married. Because I remember the first episode when the men met, that he and Clint were talking about who they had slept with prior to, you know, getting chosen for the show, right? So they showed a clip where Eris was telling Jasmine that he wanted her to participate in an open marriage. And she was like, no, sir, you'll be in an open marriage by yourself, right? So they talked about that. And so Eris was like, he would just say those things because, the cameras are in their face, and he would just get frustrated with the cameras being there. So he would just say some of the most outlandish things. And I was like, that was the thing you came up with to tell your wife that you wanted to have an open marriage? Because he said that, for him, he wouldn't want to see another man having sex with his wife, right? So after that, we are joined by Jasmine's friend. And, she says that watching the show, it she was very concerned watching the show because she was wondering what Jasmine's mental space would be. And I agree with her. I felt that way too watching this season. I was like, I hope that, at the end of this process that Jasmine comes out in a better place, right? Because looking at this season, you can see that the things that he was doing, I felt like it was taking a toll on her. She wasn't the person that we met in the earlier episodes. She was a shell of herself, and she looked very defeated. Each time I saw Jasmine, she looked more and more defeated. And once again, I want to point out and say that I think Jasmine looked amazing in this reunion. She's beautiful. Honestly, if I have to say a best dress for the women, it is going to go straight up to Jasmine. For the men, if I had to choose a best dress for the men, I couldn't. Really couldn't. But yeah, so she was talking about she was just worried about Jasmine's mental space, right? And her friend also says that she didn't like the disrespect from Eris's cousin, right? And the fact that she called her fake. So he got defensive. And he was like, she didn't call her fake. In a roundabout way, she kind of did call her fake because she was talking about the fact that with her answers that they gave very much pageant or very much so rehearsed. So yeah, it kind of was giving that she was calling her fake. So let's keep it a buck. So we found out that Eris is currently dating, and Jasmine is in a relationship with the guy that we saw. Well, I didn't see it, you guys saw, but she's in a relationship with the guy that they didn't show on the screen, and Jasmine says that was her doing. So we're gonna wish nothing but the best for Jasmine. And honestly, even though Eris is not my favorite person, I wish the best for Eris. So then next up, we got Nicole and Chris, you guys. So Nicole and Chris still very much so married to each other, and Kevin apologized to them for comments that he made on the kickoff special, right? About them being paired up, and he felt like, basically Nicole was going to drive Chris crazy. Now, I didn't have those same sentiments, but I do remember saying that I felt like Nicole had the potential to run over Chris. And honestly, I still feel that way, that she could have the potential to run over him because he is a people pleaser. And we saw that all season long with them, right? So Kevin said he didn't see the relationship would last. And I was like, really? Because from the jump with Nicole and Chris, I definitely did see that they had a viable marriage. Now, I did see a lot of red flags when it came to Nicole and Chris. So I knew if they could get past those red flags, then they'll be fine, right? So we talked about the situation when they were on the honeymoon, and you guys remember when Chris broke down about the dogs not being able to live in the apartment with them because he has his two dogs and she had her one dog, right? Hey Shayna, watching while at work. Let me know what you thought about part one of the reunion. Did you like it? Let me know. But what was I saying? Sorry. Oh, so the dog situation. So you guys remember earlier in the season that they couldn't move into. They were getting ready to come back from the honeymoon, and it was a situation about the apartment. And Chris, he basically lost his ish about that, right? And I still commend Nicole for saying, okay, well, we can bring both of your dogs, and my dog can come and visit us, right? I still have the same feelings that I had even back then, that I thought it was just a little bit selfish on Chris's part, that she had to sacrifice her dog, but your dogs could come live in the apartment. So I still have my same feelings about that. I didn't have an issue with the fact that Chris was crying. I had an issue with the fact that Chris didn't say, well, maybe my dogs can stay, and then bring in your dog. Like, what? I'm trying to muster up the energy to watch it. I heard it was boring. Yeah, it was boring. I had to watch it this morning, so I didn't watch it last night. Nashville just hasn't been given, but I knew that I want to finish out the season with the reunion, so we're here, unfortunately, right? So Nicole and Chris, they talked about the fact that Chris was bending to make Nicole happy. You guys remember when they went on that vacation where she wanted him to put on that dinosaur thing? So there's been a lot of bending with Chris and Nicole, more so on Chris's part. So they say that, with the marriage, everything is going well. The dogs all get along with each other, and they're talking about getting a house, and Kevin asked them about children. So they have talked about kids. They'll revisit that in about a year to see where they want to go as far as kids. And, Kevin also asked about Nicole's dad. So Nicole says that her dad is absolutely in love with Chris. And sometimes when he calls her, he'll ask how's his son-in-law doing before he asks about Nicole, right? So they call up her dad on the phone, and Kevin asked him, so does Chris have that big dick energy now? He says he does, right? So then he was talking about how Married at First Sight in Nashville, they're basically just a big family, right? The dogs. He has Chris's family. Family has him, and the dogs have an Uncle Shaq, Uncle Eris, Uncle Clint, Uncle Dom. I mean Uncle Mac, and all the and the girls, right? So that's that with Nicole and Chris. Actually, no. Yeah, that is that with Nicole and Chris. So after that, the ladies are joining the stage, and the ladies are very much so still close with each other, right? So Kevin asked them, so with all the ladies, who do you guys typically go to for the support? So everyone says it's definitely Nicole, right? And that's not a shock, because I mean we saw how Nicole was all season. Nicole was coming off like she was an expert herself, trying to give all the couples relationship advice. So I didn't have an issue with that, right? So they talked about Jasmine and her relationship with Eros once again. And so they showed the package, and Jasmine got very emotional watching the package. And she was started crying because of the way that basically Eris treated her this entire season, which again, Eris is not my favorite person on any stretch, by any stretch of the imagination. Like, I just didn't see it for Eris. And I love the fact that all the ladies were very much so supportive of Jasmine, and encouraging her and uplifting her. I hope that her new boyfriend is definitely treating her so much better than Eris, because here's the thing. I'm gonna double back real quick, you guys, because I've said this plenty of times, and I just want to know. Let me know if you guys agree with me. So when it comes down to Eris and Jasmine, I've been saying this all season long, and I know some people have agreed with me, and some people haven't. When it comes to Eris, and comes down to Eris and Jasmine and the attraction level, let me know if you guys agree with me. But because, like I said, there have been people who've agreed, but then there have been people who disagree. Jasmine is a beautiful girl. There's nothing physically wrong with her. So I really do feel like the issue that Eris couldn't get past was her teeth. Like, I really do think that that's what it is. But let me know if you guys think that, because I truly do believe that's what it was. Because you can't, looking at her, she's a beautiful girl. Like, I just didn't understand what it was. But hey, again, let me know in the comments. So the ladies also watched the clip of the guys, more specifically Mac, Clint, and Eris talking about after decision day that they all had sex. Hold on. I agree. He won't say what his issue is, and there's nothing else for us to assume exactly. Because I mean, when you look at her, she's beautiful. I have not watched the episode yet, but here for for spoilers. Oh well, I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean that's literally all I can come up with because when you look at Jasmine aesthetically, she's a beautiful girl. She's accomplished. It's like she was talking about in the episode in this reunion that she's got her esthetician license. So I just don't understand what it is with him. He's a loser. That's really what it is. So, like I said, they watched the package of the guys talking about who them having sex after decision day. Gina said, and you wonder why I didn't want to sleep with him. Gina, Gina. I really want for Gina to just keep it a buck with us and say there was never anything I never found Clint attractive in the slightest bit. Like, because she tried to make it up about that hair, but it wasn't that. You just didn't find Clint attractive. Hit that like button, please. Thank you. Let them know. Actually, that up. But yeah, Gina just. We're going to talk about Gina in a minute because I think Gina is full of shit. But I've always felt that about Gina. So Kevin was asking the ladies, about who they think that the other ladies deserve, right? So they think that Gina deserves a guy who is a little rough around the edges and stuff like that. When it comes to Kirsten, everyone said, with the exception of Dom, that they feel like Kirsten belongs, deserves Shakir, right? Or someone like him. I was like, why are we trying to make fetch happen with that one too? Like there was nothing ever there between Kirsten and Shaquille. She was not attracted to him. I honestly, going back to how I've been saying all season when it comes to Kirsten and Shaq, I always thought that Kirsten looked at Shaq as if he was a good Judy of hers. That is my personal opinion, but I want you guys to tell me yours. So we're gonna move on over next to Gina and Clint, you guys. When I tell you exhausting doesn't even begin to describe how I felt watching this segment with Gina and Clint, it doesn't even begin to describe it. So, Gina and Clint, in the beginning, I do believe that, hold on, Eris, however you spell his name, give me, not give me shrimp. I wouldn't be surprised. Shaq gave me good Judy vibes. Exactly. Shaq do give good Judy vibes. I mean, there's no shade, but that's what, especially with their relationship. I don't think that she ever looked at him as anything other than that. So, and I'm gonna talk about Kirsten when we get down to her, right? But Gina and Clint, my personal opinion is I do feel that Clint actually liked Gina in the beginning. And I think what happened with Clint is that when she started talking about his ginger features, these are her words again. I don't use that kind of terminology, but when Gina started talking about his features, I think that's when Clint reverted back and be like, okay, we gonna keep and then when she kept friends on him, I think Clint went along with that because that's what Gina wanted, and he just didn't want to try to force himself upon this woman. Those are my personal opinions. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree. He complained a lot. Sorry for I would have been yeah, I definitely would have broke up with I mean, this whole entire season, that was my whole thing when it came to them. I always felt like she should have asked for an immediate divorce from that fool because I didn't like it. I really wanted her to get an immediate divorce instead of having to go through this entire process. Like y'all could have found me if I were married, if I were Jasmine and married to Eris, I would have told the producers like y'all gonna have to find me because I just don't want to be in a relationship with this guy. He's not attracted to me. He says off the wall shit. Like no, but with Gina and Clint, like I said, I do believe Clint liked her, but I think when she started to friends on him, That's when he just went along to get along, because I do believe he initially liked Gina. I do believe he was initially attracted to Gina because Kevin played. So with in this reunion, they showed some never before seen clips. They did show some of their casting tapes, right? So when they showed Clint's casting tape, his type is Gina. It's Gina. Oh, I'm talking Shaq and his Judy. I mean, that's yeah. Now I get what you're saying. You would have been broke up if you were Kirsten and Shaq. For me, when it comes to Kirsten, I'm gonna briefly talk about it, but I'll go deeper. I feel like with Kirsten, I think Kirsten was going along as well. I don't think Kirsten ever. I know she wants to say she was falling for. I don't believe she ever was. I think with like Kirsten and Shaq and Gina and Clint, I think they were all just basically going along to get to the end of this process with each other, right? Because I just never saw any attraction there. Same with Jasmine and Eris. So I think a lot of them were just going along to get along, because if they didn't, this season would have wrapped up immediately, because we had already gotten Dom and Mac divorced. So all we were left with was Gina and Clint, Eris and Jasmine, Nicole and Chris, and Kirsten and Shaq. And I think everybody knew that Nicole and Chris were going to say yes to each other on decision day. So you had three other couples that I think a good majority of the viewers knew that they were going to say no, but I think for the sake of the show, because again, there was nothing there between Jasmine and Eris, nothing there between Kirsten and Shaq, and damn sure nothing there between Gina and Clint, right? So, Kevin, what season were you watching? Because now I will say though, when Kevin was talking to Gina and Clint, and the fact that they were talking about their relationship and how they're friends with each other currently, and they talk to each other, I do agree with Kevin that there is something there between them, but I really wanted Kevin to stop trying to say, "So are y'all gonna find your way back to each other? Are y'all gonna find y'all way back to each other?" No, Kevin, they're not going to find their way back to each other because Gina doesn't want Clint. Like, can we stop trying to make it happen? Because it's not. So Kevin also asked them, do they think that they gave it their all? They answered yes. And I said, hell no. So, like I said, they hang out with each other. They're good friends. And Kevin was like, but you couldn't make it work. Again, that is on Gina. So, Clint, so Kevin also made mention that Clint thought that Gina came on the show just to promote her salon. I was like ding 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 ding, because I've been saying that all season that Gina came on this season to promote that salon. You can't tell me anything other than this, that's what she came on here for, right? So Gina's not currently dating anyone, but we find out that Clinton is, and been dating a person for quite some time. So I was like, okay, cool. She chooses him at the end. If drop my Okay, so she chooses him at the end. If drop my panties for you when I'm gonna keep our marriage. Are you talking about Kirsten? Oh yeah, because Kirsten chose him at the end, and he said no. When it comes to Kirsten, like I said, I'll talk about. I think we're about to get into Kirsten and Shaq, but I just don't know why she said yes in the end. I don't know why the girl said yes, but like I said, we'll talk about it. Kevin is so biased and clearly never watches the show ever. I came to that conclusion watching this part one of the reunion. I'm like, Kevin, what show have you been watching? What show have you been watching? Now, granted, he was spot on about Gina and Clint. Gina and Clint, they could work if Gina wanted Gina and Clint to work. Gina does not want them to work. Again, Gina found not find anything remotely attractive about Clint, and that's why the marriage suffered. It was solely because of Gina. Like, those are my opinions. And Gina said something. Gina had a comment about people who she said that's emotions and not logic or something like that, when they were talking about the fact that Clint believes she came on this show for her salon. I was like, well, I ain't got no emotional attachment to you, and I damn sure believe you came on this show for promotion for that salon because that's all you ever mentioned. Like that's what annoyed me with Gina. That's all you ever mentioned. Do you have a life outside of this damn salon? Because it's really giving that you don't. Like Shaq, if I'm giving up the good, you, oh my God, it's, oh my God, if I'm giving up this good to you, it's no divorce. Well, I'm gonna keep my little opinion to myself about, because I said it earlier this season that I do believe when it came to Kirsten and Shaq when they had sex, I still think that was pity sex. I don't think she really wanted to have sex with him. I mean, I could be wrong, but I just don't get the feeling that she wanted to do that. I feel like she just did it just to kind of get people to stop. Because you guys remember at one point, Dr. Pepper and Pastor Cal kept having those conversations with them. So I think Kirsten probably got to the point where she was like, God damn, I'm tired of having these conversations about this. So let me just go ahead and sleep with this man. Because even when they did that awkward ass painting, I got no chemistry from them. So speaking of Kirsten and Shaq, let's go ahead and wrap it up with them, right? So, Kirsten is talking about how she's getting ready to go on a trip. And Shaq is, he said he's back doing therapy and he's finishing up his degree. He says that they do check in with each other, but it's like you good and that's it, right? So Shaq, he said he got a job in Austin. So that part I had recently saw online. So he lives in Austin and he's still, like I said, working on his degree. So Kirsten talked about how after decision day, like she was really upset that he chose to divorce her. And I'm like, how are you? Here's my thing when it comes to Kirsten, right? In the beginning, Kirsten said, remember, and let's go back to episode one when they got married, right? She said that remember she was telling her family, her family and her friends about the kiss. If she finds him attractive, she'll give him a kiss. If she didn't find him attractive, she wouldn't kiss him, right? So then remember, she said, oh, she wanted him to ask her for a kiss. So in the beginning, it was all on Kirsten. Kirsten was curving him. Kirsten was moving every time they would think they were moving forward. Kirsten would move the goalpost. So I think it got to a certain point where Shaq was like, you know what? I don't have time for this. Like, you want me to jump over these hoops and hurdles for you, but then when I do certain things, you put up a block. So at that point, by the time we got halfway through the process, he wasn't feeling her. So I don't know how she's upset that he said no on decision day. But he didn't make any sense either because he was talking about a prophet said something to him about a decision that he had to make. I was like, a prophet, sir? What are we talking about? And then, him crying at decision when he said no on decision day. I was like, what in the hell is going on here, right? And if he I guess he was trying to make it out that he wanted to stay married, but he wasn't sure. I was like, okay, I'm tired of both of y'all, right? So this is where Kevin really lost me because Kevin kept saying to them that, you know, going through the show, I mean, everyone thought that you guys were going to say yes to each other at the end of the process. I was like, who the fuck thought that? Now, I didn't expect for Shaquille to say no to Kirsten on decision day. I actually thought it was going to be flip. I thought that Kirsten was going to say no to him, right? So after decision day, she said she was very much upset. She didn't speak to him for some time, and he said, "Yeah." She didn't start back texting me. She told me Merry Christmas, and I said Merry Christmas to you too. She said no. I actually reached out to him when his grandmother died. So I just want to know what show Kevin was watching because there was never anything between Shaq and Kirsten from me personally. She don't give me that type of girl that give up her box to anybody just to shut them up. But I just don't think she was attracted. I still don't think she was attracted to him. Like there was, because here's my thing when it comes to Kirsten. How do we go from Kirsten in the first half of the season saying she wasn't attracted to him, especially when the first time they sat down with Pastor Cal, and Pastor Cal asked her, "Was there any attraction to him?" And she said, "Not really." Like I don't know. Shaq and Kirsten were an interesting bunch. Interesting too for me. I knew that those two were not going to say yes at decision day. That was something that I always knew was never gonna happen with Shaq and Kirsten, that those two would say yes. Like I said, I was a little shocked that he was the one that said he wanted a divorce and not her. But that was part one of the reunion, you guys. Like Shayna said up here earlier in the comments, that she heard it was boring. Yeah, Shayna, it was boring. It didn't give a whole lot. I I started watching the reunion at 11 a.m. and I didn't finish it until it was just about 1 o'clock when I finished it, because I stopped and paused so many times. So the reunion is given just what this season gave. Absolutely not a damn thing. But that's it, you guys. Let me know in the comment section if you guys are watching the playback. If you guys watched part one of the Married at First Sight reunion, what you thought about it. And that's it, you guys. I'll see you guys again next Thursday for part two. And that'll be a live review as well, you guys. So until then, you guys, please stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves, you guys. Wash your hands. Be blessed, you guys. And I'll catch you guys later. Also, you guys, I will be doing Sisters Review. I gotta go back and watch that. And then I gotta watch The Real Housewives of Orange County. So those reviews should be up later this afternoon or early tomorrow morning, as well as Hot Topics, you guys. And let me get this comment from Shayna. I don't know why. I don't know. We may need to boycott Married at First Sight next season until they do better. I agree. Where is Married at First Sight going next season is a good question, because I don't even know that. I haven't kept up. Let's see. Where's Married at First Sight going for season 17? Let's see where season 17 is. I have no idea. Do you guys know where next season gonna be? Let me know in the comments or in the chat. But like I said, you guys, I'll see you guys later. Bye.